much for this opportunity to present this work. So in the past 5 years or so, we have trying to develop something between the public aquarium and FishBase and SeaLifeBase. So I will make a very quick overview of what we have done in the past 5 years and focus more on what we have done last year. So basically, probably you know that, but the zoo and public aquarium in the world welcome more than 700 million people. And in the past, they were built for public enjoyment, but they are more and more, especially for the zoo, it was in the past, but I would say in the public aquarium, it's more and more for conservation organization, whose mission is to inspire and contribute significantly to wildlife conservation. So they can, and they're willing to, most of them, to impact the conservation attitude and action of their visitors. And specifically for fish, they can also have a leading role in the aquarium, the commercial trade in ornamental aquatic species. And something that is pretty new, especially for in France for sure, is that they're more and more involved in research, especially because they want to promote a breeding program, especially to avoid to capture wild animals. So given that, and I'm working with aquarium for the past 15 or 16 years now, we're trying to develop something new by trying to build a network between my university and especially the students, FishBase Consortium, and the French-speaking aquarium in France. So about 40 or 50 that are all linked in their special group, which is Union of Public Aquarium. Well, the main goal behind that is that aquarium, they have a lot of information, a lot of data. And the basic idea 5 years ago was to evaluate what kind of data do they have. Do they agree to share some of them with FishBase? And this is what we have done. So it started in 2019. So we had a survey with all the public aquariums. So they answered the survey. I had 3 students working on that. In 2021, we have our first batch of pictures that were sent to FishBase, to the Philippines, so Aquatics, and they were uploaded on FishBase, and we have all the Congress in Paris. In 2022, we have what I call a FishBase representative. That's a person within each aquarium that I can talk to and is in charge in a way of working with us on this project. 8 students work on that, and there was that special issue in Symposium, and we did it with Alex and myself, and there were 3 articles especially on this topic. And just to give you some information there, for the one that I was the first co-author, is that we assessed the number of species in 7 aquariums in France, and probably will not be surprised, but they host 851 fish species. That's a lot. And for 560, it was present only in 1 aquarium, and 80 species only in 5 aquariums. So what they've done, the students, is they look at what was in FishBase in terms of knowledge. Do we know those species or not for each species? And what is the conservation status? So basically, this is what they found. So one is that you have no information in FishBase. So we assume that we don't know a lot of the biology of this fish. 5, it means we know a lot in FishBase. And those, for instance, V is vulnerable and so on, instinct. So what is really interesting here is that actually those aquarium host fish that are very endangered, and we don't know anything about that, about them. And only 10% they host. We know, as according to FishBase, we know quite a lot of things on them. So this is exactly what Daniel has presented this morning. Their aquarium have the potential to provide unique data for many species, and I always said that to them, you are the only aquarium that possesses this species. Whatever you will provide will be new for science. And the applications are probably endless, but so the choice of species, I cannot oblige them to work on any species. Of course, most of them are private companies, but if they have to put some money on some species, the better will be endangered or unknown, and on which traits. Sometimes it can cost money, but most often it's quite cheap to get some information. But again, like Daniel said, we need also to help those people to understand why getting those data. Okay, if you get that length, for what reason? So we need also to build the skills and the abilities to rear new species. But to be honest, each month they're getting better. They improve very well because in the technology, it's moving very fast. So the amount of data is increasing almost on a daily basis. What they're doing with that, well, that's the goal of this project. So basically what we have done also on FishBase, we have changed these pages it was online for the past 20 years, but no change in 20 years. So we increased the number of public aquarium that's online. And for 7 of them, we were able to upload the list of species, so thanks to all the people from Aquatics. And also we were able to upload some pictures so that those public aquarium can understand that what they have in their aquarium can be very interesting for the community. So now, my idea was also, okay, I want to work on this species. I don't know anything, but if I go on FishBase, I know that this public aquarium in France or in Belgium or whatever works with this species for the past 20 years. So probably I can contact them and have a lot of information. So this is basically what this kind of pages will help to do. And for some of the species, they are in front, so in the first page there's a wonderful story behind this picture, and it was provided by Oceanopolis. So there's a game changer in the field this year. So to make a long story short, many researchers within the Institute of Ocean wants to develop a new collaboration with aquariums. And of course, I'm pushing all the time saying, yes, that's a very good idea, but we should also continue working with FishBase for sure. So we have, and honestly, I'm working almost for the past 20 years with all those guys. So I know it's in French, but the basic idea was in March 27, just to gather researchers with public aquarium and have a full one day just discussing about potential collaboration. And it worked pretty well. And this is what it's all about, collaboration between aquarium and research, so that we make a survey and so on, and actually people want to work together. So in the meantime, what I've done with all my students, so I have basically 20 students a year, so they're bachelor, and most of them will work in public aquarium after that. And so each year I try to train those students to these projects. So the why should public aquarium work with FishBase and research? What are the obstacles? So clearly, most students will say, yes, that's wonderful. Yes, but how do we do it? That's the how. So basically what we have done a survey and we sent it to 18 public aquarium in France. So yes, we don't start from scratch, as always. There's already some collaboration, so 10 of them have already collaboration, could be really occasional partnership, just exchanging fish or stuff like that, up to PhD in common. But what is most interesting is that they're really, really willing to have much more collaboration, and they should. That's where the potential is endless for me. if you provide a good environment to fish, they will spawn. So you will have eggs, larvae, and so on and so on. So you can have information that is almost impossible to get in nature, because sometimes it's far, you need boats and so on and so on. And they're using more and more those spawning, spontaneous spawning to try to rear them. Okay, they might have a lot of data, but do they agree to share that with us? Yes, they do. And okay, the list of species, it's okay, we already do that, so we will continue with Nicolas and colleagues in Aquatics. Also the photograph, but this is something I propose. If you go in certain public aquarium, they have fished for sometimes 10, 15, 20 years, and you have very big fish. And you forget the size of some of them. You know, if you have cod used to be 1 meter, more than 1 meter, and now most of them are shorter because we fish them, that's it. But in public aquariums, sometimes you have very large, still very large animals. So that will be a way to compare what we do fish today, and just to express that to the public, the real size or the biggest size of some fish. And so, yes, we want to work also, and I will show you after the goal of that, the origin of each species. Is it involved in conservation, the control of the life cycle in captivity, and number of generation? And all could be new fields, little by little, added to FishBase. Of course, we should not mix that with information coming from the wild. This is what I present. So the basic idea is to work now on this page. Okay, if you look at FishBase for public aquarium, this is what you have: breeding, husbandry, and research. So basically, it's to change or modify those fields. And for doing that, this year, with the students, we assessed 9 aquariums, and for each of the species, so if you have 200 species listed in one aquarium, for each of them, this is the question that we ask: where did the fish come from? From the well, rearing, other aquarium, on-site reproduction, public donation? Is the species involved in conservation or not? Oops. And about 10 other questions: spontaneous spawning, yeah, number of generation, and so on and so on. So this is the kind of graph that we can have, but we have to recheck everything because there was a lot of students. But basically, there's the wild. So most of the species that you will see in a public aquarium came from the wild. But if I do this graph in 10 or 20 years from now, it will be probably close to 0, because they want to breed much more species in captivity so that they don't go in the well. So the others means that we don't really know, not because the public aquarium don't know, that's because we have to check this year what they have done. And also, I really like that, because you have spontaneous spawning for hundreds of species. That's an enormous potential. So with that, we can acquire a lot of basic biology from those fish. So this year, what we're going to do, so we will agree on the fields with public aquarium and the people from Aquatics. So just after this meeting, we will discuss, or we can discuss this week, of course. I will check and update with the students all the information so that we will provide very accurate data to FishBase. So hopefully it will be online in 2025, so from January up to December, so that's a lot of time. And I will represent that in March in 2025. In 2025, I will hopefully present only this page and how we have managed. And of course, we will have an article report before uploading those data. Thank you very much.